Howdy, this is the Views from the Schott podcast. I'm your host, your one and only host, Tim Miller, and today it is Wednesday, November 12th, 2025, and I wish you a very, very, very happy National Pizza with the Works except Anchovies Day. On today's show, we recap Ohio State's win over Appalachian State. The Buckeyes improved to 3-0 on the young season with a 75-53 win over the Mountaineers at home on Tuesday night. We'll do what we always do, key stats and notes from the first half and the second half, as well as we'll get into some takeaways from this game. Overall in this stretch, it wasn't the prettiest game. It's now been 3 games in a row where Ohio State has won and they've scored a lot of points, or it's been kind of sloppy, or you've had some combination of those 3, and that's the story in this game as well. So the Buckeyes pick up a win. Again, not the prettiest of wins, but a win nonetheless. So we'll cover that all today. Wherever you get your podcasts, please subscribe. Every additional subscriber truly does mean something, so encourage you to do that wherever you find your podcasts. Subscribe on YouTube as well if you're watching the video right now. YouTube views, likes, comments, all of the YouTube numbers are up, which is great. So please like the video on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed. I'm talking to you. If you think you don't matter, you do matter. Please like and subscribe on this video as well. And Views from the Schott podcast.substack.com. Encourage you to go there. Published a couple articles yesterday, just getting you ready for App State, letting you know updates on injuries and things like that. So encourage you to go there. And if you want access to more insider information, you can join the chat there as well. Hit me up for a free trial. So today we're taking a close look at Ohio State's win over Appalachian State. This was a game where, yet again, if you got football fans who are box score scanning, or you've just got pessimistic basketball fans, which if you're one of those, that's totally fine. You're still welcome here. But it was really easy for fans early on in this game to say, man, this team is not good. Man, this team is not ready. Jake Diebler is not the guy. I didn't even check the comments on Ohio State Hoops, their main account. I didn't check comments there to see what are people saying. I would assume probably some fire Diebler or Holtman 2.0 comments probably living there in the Ohio State Hoops Twitter sphere right now. I had someone, there's still time to delete, had someone who replied to one of my tweets and said App State will win this game by 30. Well, about a 50-point swing there in the wrong direction for that particular prediction. But hey, I've been wrong on picks before too. We all know the BIP is more than guilty of that. So we'll give him a pass. We'll give him a pass. All right. So a game where the fan base doesn't really get to settle in, I guess we can say. But there's nothing we can do about it now. We can't change it, but we can talk about it. So that's what we do here in this one. Let's get into some key stats and notes in this game. Shooting disparity, a bunch of other disparities from the first half to the second half. In the first half, Ohio State shoots 29% from the field and 13% from the three-point line. I believe they were something like 2 of 16 in the first half. Actually, they were exactly 2 of 16 in the first half from the three-point line. That's not winning basketball, and certainly not Jake Diebler-esque basketball. They want to be able to shoot the 3 ball. They were not able to in the first half, and it led to Ohio State really struggling early on. App State didn't run away with this game, at least for me personally. It never felt like this game was out of grasp for Ohio State, but there were some butterflies at times. There were some nerves where you look up at the score, and we're 10 minutes into this game, and Ohio State can't get a hold of it. Not only can they not get a hold of it, but they can't even grasp this game in the slightest form. They're trying to wrangle this game back under control, and they can't do it. And then you get toward the end of the first half, and Ohio State really starts to take over. I mean, they close the half, I think, scoring the final 15 points in a 20-3 run. So you get that, and that bumped up their field goal shooting numbers and their three-point shooting numbers. A lot of those points coming from the free throw line to close the first half. But in the second half, you get back to normal Ohio State basketball, 54% from the field in the second half, 46% from the 3-point line in the second half. And that's where you can take a deep breath, a sigh of relief, and say, all right, that's the Ohio State basketball team that I'm used to. The second half, much better than the first half offensively for Ohio State. Defensively, they allowed, what was the number here? 25 points in the first half, 28 points in the second half. So those numbers are great. Even with the low pace of Appalachian State, they shot 8 of 25 from the 3-point line. You'll take that. And 20 of 56 from the field. You'll probably take that as well. So those numbers, not so bad. It was just a matter of getting the offense going. And when you don't have Devin Royal in this game, and John Mobley Jr. is questionable, he's sick. I let the Substack know pretty quickly. I would expect him to go in this game. But I tell you what, this was a game where a lot of things could have gone wrong, and many things did go wrong. But you look at everything, if you go back to the preview episode and what I said about this type of matchup, and then you don't have Devin Royal and John Mobley Jr. is sick, it can all cast a very dark sort of outlook on this game, and Ohio State still finds a way to get the win. But the biggest story in this game was the difference between the first half and the second half, and it makes sense when you don't have Devin Royal there in the starting lineup. Ohio State didn't get its first lead in this game until 33 seconds left in the first half. After that, they never squandered the lead. They never trailed after that. So App State, they got their lead. They got to lead for most of the first half, and yet Ohio State still won this game by 22 points. Is that covering? I think the line might have closed at about 21 and a half, around there, so they might have covered. Buckeyes might be 2-0 against the spread. Good teams win, great teams cover. Ohio State had 4 total turnovers in this game, while on the flip side, they score 13 points off of turnovers. That's a great way to win a basketball game. Now, I said before, App State, not really a team that will force you to turn the ball over all that much. What I did say, though, is that App State traditionally has shown the ability to be a shot blocking team. In this game, Ohio State had 0 shots blocked. So, all in all, the Buckeyes pick up the win. How did they get there? Let's get into that now here in the first half. So, Ohio State starts the game shooting 1 of 8 from the field. The only make is an easy layup by Brandon Noel. Bruce Thornton, he missed a floater. Christoph Tilley misses a good look at a 3. He passed another one up a couple minutes later. Were those first couple of misses in his head and causing him to not take a 3 later on? I don't know. Colin White, he misses a corner triple. Tilley then misses an open one from the top of the key again. I think he started 0 of 3 or 0 of 4 from this game. Never made a 3. But early on, Christoph Tilley struggled from the 3-point line. And it was a slow start, kind of as I predicted. I talked about I didn't expect App State to win this game, but I did say this could be a trap game. You look at the pace App State plays with, you look at their strong defensive pedigree, and you look at the fact that this could be a look-ahead spot for Ohio State. You got that game on Sunday against Notre Dame. It's your first quiz of the year. I'm not going to call it a test necessarily. It's your first quiz. It's your knowledge check. It's your competency check. How does Ohio State compare to another team in a power conference? It's easy to look ahead. So, did I think Ohio State was going to be trailing 7-2 5 minutes into the game? Absolutely not. But that's where the Buckeyes were in this one. It was slow. Like I said on the preview show, App State wanted to turn this game into a sludge fest. Not a slugfest, a sludge fest. And that they did. And I don't think the looks that Ohio State got early on were all that bad. They were missing shots. I mean, they start the game not only 1 of 8, but 1 of 12 at a point when there's 13 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the first half. App State on the flip side only shooting 36%. So because the Mountaineers were so bad offensively, it allowed Ohio State to really not have to feel all that worried about this game being in jeopardy, even with a double-digit deficit. Bruce Thornton, he makes a couple of free throws to make it 10-4. But you're like, man, where is the offense? That's the one thing we thought we could trust with Ohio State, and the offense is not there. Amari Bynum, he finally makes Ohio State's second field goal, monster slam dunk off an offensive rebound. And you wonder, is that dunk, is that type of momentum shifting play going to allow Ohio State to get into this game and get moving offensively? Right after that, John Mobley Jr., he misses a 3. And again, there were just so many shots early on that go in and out, or they swirl around the rim before falling off. And I don't think the shot quality was all that poor in this game, especially early on in the first half. It was just the shots were not going in. This is one of these games where I actually would have appreciated if a sideline reporter could go up to Coach Diebler and say, hey, what are you seeing out there offensively? Would love to know what Diebler was thinking at that point. Is he thinking, man, like our offense does actually look really bad? Or is it more so, I mean, we're getting good looks. We're just not hitting them. And sometimes that's how it goes. I mean, I don't remember what game it was earlier this year, but it was either Purdue, Fort Wayne. It might not have even been an Ohio State game, but a game that a team Ohio State was playing, watching them back and saying, it probably was an Ohio State game. Regardless, sometimes you'll have situations where an offense, they're shooting from the field really poorly, but the looks they're getting are not bad. I guess it was the IU Indy game, now that I think of it, where it was the reverse, where IU Indy, I mean, Ohio State was closing out. They were contesting these shots, and somehow they were still going in just because you're getting some good luck. And unfortunately, I think Ohio State had some bad luck offensively. I'm not concerned. Even at that point, I wasn't concerned about how the offense looked. Yeah, I'm concerned about them not making shots, but the slow start offensively, I don't think was anything more than bad luck. Ohio State scored 8 points in the first 10 minutes of this game. Amari Bynum had 4 of those 10 points. I mentioned in the preview article on Substack yesterday morning that he might have a chance for some more scoring tonight. It felt like he left some scoring on the table there against Purdue Fort Wayne, and he got after it a little bit early on in this game. But for everyone else, it was bad. The Buckeyes start 1 of 8, 1 of 12, then 3 of 17 from the field, and 0 of 9 from the three-point line. That's not how you win basketball at Ohio State under Jake Diebler. Bruce Thornton, John Mobley Jr., Devin Royal doesn't play tonight, but even with Christoph Tilley and Brandon Noel, who missed a 3 early on. And off the bench, you hope Gabe Cupps can hit a 3. Tayson Chapman shown that ability as well, but you got to be able to hit 3-pointers. And the fact that Ohio State couldn't do that early on, it was concerning. Bruce Thornton, he goes without a made field goal in the first 10 minutes of this game. I also question, I don't accuse, but I question maybe Bruce Thornton should have gotten some more minutes out there early on with just how sluggish this offense was, the lack of production there from the offense, especially given, I mean, he's used to 35 plus minutes every game down the stretch last year for Ohio State. Need him to kind of help Ohio State get going there offensively, but they still did get going offensively. App State on the other side, they score on 4 straight possessions. That prompts a Jake Diebler timeout with 8:12 left in the first half. Buckeyes down 22-10. And now it's time for Jake Diebler to coach. Prove your worth. Get your team back in it. That was kind of the note I had at that point was you're down by a lot. You take a timeout. You got to rally the troops, and you got to get this team not even up to full speed. You got to get them on the tracks and give them a chance at this point. He gets his starters in with about a minute later. Time to step up, go on a run. Thornton finds Mobley. They move the ball up the floor quickly to find Noel. He gets 2 points. Brandon Noel, I mean, I'll talk about him later on the show. He remains so good off the ball and with the ball in his hands at the rim. He gets a bucket to kind of kick off the scoring for Ohio State. Then Noel hits a 3 with the shot clock winding down, brings the deficit down to 8. Gabe Cupps comes in for John Mobley. I mean, again, like, I don't know this team the way the coaching staff does. It's just a thought. Do you ever consider maybe, given how anemic the offense was early on, giving Bruce Thornton more run, giving John Mobley Jr. more run? I've been a Gabe Cupps defender this season. I think that the complaints that he's gotten have been blown way out of proportion. I'd still rather like to see 2 more minutes from John Mobley Jr. instead of Gabe Cupps out there, especially given you can't get anything going offensively. Cupps did poke 2 balls free in the first half, and he also got to the rim, made 2 free throws after getting fouled. So you're looking for Gabe Cupps to produce something offensively, 2 free throws. He was 1 of 4 from the field, though. Not great. So, again, the question was, can Diebler and company, can they respond? They go on a 9-3 run heading into the 4-minute media timeout. Colin White, I think he had some nice moments. He starts in this game over Devin Royal. He had a strong closeout on a deep 3. Might have got a piece of the ball there. I'm not sure. Poked a ball free as well. And then you close the half, not only on a 9-3 run, but you end up at 20-3 in total to close the half, and also a 15-0 run inside of that. John Mobley Jr. getting involved. Bruce Thornton, he hits a buzzer-beating triple. The defense shines, especially Colin White defensively. I thought he looked really good in the first half. In the final 7 minutes, 4 of 7 from the field, 10 of 11 from the free throw line. Free throw shooting is what really allowed Ohio State to get back into this game. It's a hard team to guard. App State in this game had 25 personal fouls. Don't like that if you're App State, but if you're an Ohio State fan, you'll take it. So the Buckeyes go into the first or go into halftime out of the first half, 23 run, 15-0 run. You lead 30-25, and you feel okay. John Mobley Jr., he leads the team with 8 points, but only 1 of 6 from the field. This is, like I said, it's a tough team to guard. You've got Mobley goes 6 of 6 from the free throw line, 12 of 13 as a team in the first half, and I just think this is a team that is going to continue to get to the free throw line. Bruce Thornton, John Mobley Jr. super slippery. Devin Royal can draw fouls. Christoph Tilley, Brandon Noel can draw fouls. I mean, look at the free throw shooting in this game overall. Brandon Noel never gets to the line. John Mobley Jr. gets 9 shots. Bruce Thornton gets 6. Christoph Tilley gets 5 attempts. And then you've got Amari Bynum, Gabe Cupps, and Ivan Nagavon all getting 2 free throw attempts as well. Tayson Chapman had 2, and Matthew Grujitic had 3 free throw attempts. Chapman goes 0 of 2. Gru goes 0 of 3. But overall, you're getting the ability to get to the free throw line. And when you're a tough team to guard, it's much easier to get to the free throw line than it was for Ohio State last year, for example, the roster they had. So you go into the half, 12 of 13 from the free throw line. That's how they got in this game. Like I said, 2 of 16 from the three-point line, but you're still leading. 8 of 28 from the field is pretty awful as well, but you're still leading. I know it's App State. I know it's not Michigan State, but the point remains the same. You got to be able to win games when you don't have your A game at what you're supposed to be really good at. Because some nights it's not going to be there. Like this night, the shots weren't falling. The offense wasn't there. You still got to be able to win games and beat teams when your fastball, you can't locate it. And that was the case for Ohio State tonight. On the other side for App State, Kason Jennings. This was a guy I said in the pregame show, you got to be able to take care of Kason Jennings. He is your primary scorer. He's really your only scorer. He had 7 points at the half, 3 of 5 shooting. That's fine. Not 3 of 5 shooting. He had 7 points in the half. I don't know where he was from the field. That's a different note on Brandon Noel, actually. But 7 points at the half, on pace to score 14. That's fine. You are more than okay with Kason Jennings finishing with 14 points in the game. He would end up scoring 12, so he would go under that number, but I think you're happy there. Brandon Noel in the first half and in this entire game, he was the brightest spot to me. 7 points, 3 of 5 shooting. He makes a triple, leads the team with 5 rebounds. Only 1 turnover offensively in the first half. You out-rebounded App State by 6. So if you're not going to be good offensively, you got to be able to out-rebound. You got to be able to force turnovers. You got to be able to get the free throw line. Some of these things need to start working if the offense isn't there. And this was a point as well, especially 5, 8 minutes left. None of those other numbers will be said by me. 5 to 8 minutes left in the first half, let's say. I was questioning if I was going to have to start questioning Jake Diebler. You know me. I try to be more neutral, balanced, that type of voice on the program. Fans, I'm sure, were crazier than a raccoon and in an unguarded dumpster during the first half, seeing what was unfolding. But I even thought to myself for a split second, am I going too easy on this team? Like, are the haters and the doubters, are they going to be right about this team this year? And they close the half on a good run. And I think that even at that point at halftime, everyone felt like, okay, Ohio State's going to be fine. But even I was wondering, am I doing something wrong here? Do I have a bad read on this team? Are they actually going to finish with 16 wins? Because if you lose to App State, anything is in the cards at that point. Obviously, in the second half, those concerns very much hush. So we start the second half. John Mobley Jr. immediately finds Christoph Tilley for a layup. We need to start talking about John Mobley Jr.'s playmaking this season. It's been really, really good. In this game, he has 3 assists. John Mobley Jr. in the other 2 games this year, for the Buckeyes, he has been a primary playmaker for Ohio State. So he tied his career high with 8 assists against IU Indy. He had 4 assists against Purdue Fort Wayne. He's producing there. Even though he's not the point guard, even though he's not the primary guy with the ball in his hands, he looks really, really good. And this is an area where he's grown this year compared to last year. I know it's just been 3 games, but it's giving you a lot of hope for how good this offense can be. We talk about the assist rate all the time on this show with Ohio State this year. That is an encouraging sign for Ohio State. So Mobley finds Tilly for a layup. Defense struggles a little bit in the second half just to start. You give up a dunk, you force a miss, and then Colin White was all sorts of out of position. Another shot goes in for App State. Outside of that possession, Colin White, I didn't notice anything like horribly ugly about him defensively. But then Ohio State really settles in. John Mobley Jr. rattles home a deep 3. You force a miss. Tilly gets to the free throw line. He goes 2 of 2. Bruce Thornton makes a tough 2-point jumper while getting fouled. And now you get to the point where everything feels normal again. It took about 15 minutes of game time to get there, but you got there. And then Gabe Cupps makes his first field goal as a player on this team. And again, he finishes a game 1 of 4. He makes a 3-pointer in this game. So maybe that can just, if you think of college football, what is it, 26 that's out now, or 25, the stadium pulse. The stadium pulse goes from the camera shaking, you can't see your routes on the field offensively, and the pulse, that meter is filled up all the way, to it's kind of teetering from being filled up all the way to like 1 bar not filled up after Gabe Cupps makes a 3. So there's still a lot of attention and pressure on him. Maybe we can settle down just a little bit. He made a 3-pointer, guys. Relax. And then kind of in there, you can pick your run. 21-7 to start the second half, 36-7. If you look back even more than that in the first half, 41-10. Dating back to the first half, I mean, none of this is bad. All of this is good. Again, like, we're waiting for this team to put together a clean 40 minutes. I'm not sure how many teams can actually put together a good, clean, complete 40 minutes, whether it be against App State or a Division II program or your conference rival on the road. That's just really hard to do. Regardless, I think the impressive part for Ohio State in this game was 21-7, second half, 36-7, 41-10. You get those runs, 41-10. If you start the game 41-10, instead of a bit of the first half and in the second half at 41-10, the scoreboard says 41-10. That's a football score. You're happy with that. And that's not how it went. But what I'm saying is these runs in general that Ohio State goes on, very, very impressive. App State then tries to throw some curveballs at the Buckeyes, 1-3-1 extended zone. They try to trap. They try to ramp up the pressure. Brandon Noel, he gets an easy layup. It's no big deal. It's no big deal for Brandon Noel. The chill guy meme that isn't really used anymore, but was probably this time last year. Just put the hard hat on, man. Put the hard hat on Brandon Noel. Just go to work. Nonchalant. He's a chill guy. It's whatever. I'll just hang back here. I'll sit in the dunker's position and I'll be ready. Whenever you guys need me, I'll be ready. Just toss me the ball. I'll hit a layup here. I'll flip a layup in there, reverse layup here. Here's a dunk. I'll finish the soup. It's whatever. I'm Brandon Noel. It's just what I do. And that's what he did against that 1-3-1 zone. He gets a layup and then a dunk on the very next possession. I believe it was against that 1-3-1 zone. Bruce Thornton, he finds Tayson Chapman. Chapman hits a triple. Tayson Chapman, another player I'll talk about. He gets 13 minutes in this game, and I think he played some pretty quality minutes for Ohio State overall. He misses free throw attempts, but you're looking for those depth pieces for Ohio State. We know how good the starting lineup can be. What is your depth? 5 minutes against IU Indy, he has 5 points. Against Purdue Fort Wayne, he has 8 minutes, doesn't attempt a field goal, but in this one, 13 minutes, 1-1 from the field, and hits a 3-pointer. Need guys off the bench who can hit threes. Is Tayson Chapman going to be that guy? I think there's potential for that for sure. It's a very, very limited sample size, but he's hitting shots. Brandon Noel, he finishes an alley-oop. He gets to his double-double, the first of his career as a Buckeye, and then the rest is pretty much history for Ohio State in this game. So, as you look at major takeaways that I've got from the Ohio State win, I think the first thing that I would say This wasn't projected necessarily as an easy win, regardless of where fans' expectations were. Fans' expectations are irrelevant to the actual outcome and what goes on within the 40 minutes on the hardwood. What I will say is that, yes, Ohio State was favored by 20 plus points in this game. The way Ohio State was going to get there, I just didn't see a path where they're going to be up 33-8 with 12 minutes left in the first half. We've seen Ohio State have the potential to do that. They kind of got there against Purdue Fort Wayne. But look, this is a game where you probably lose some energy, knowing the type of team you're playing against with a strong defense, a slow pace. And once Devin Royal can't go, I think that's a spot as well where you say, this is going to be a tough game for us, at least at the start. It shouldn't have been a surprise. Like, if you're listening or watching this show, then hopefully you listened to the App State preview and you heard some of my thoughts on here, or you read some of the stuff on Substack or anything like that, and you are closely enough following Ohio State to the point where this wasn't a shock to you. It shouldn't have been a shock, the start of this game. I don't think Ohio State did anything. Like, they missed some shots for sure. I don't think they did anything that would have been shocking. In general, I kind of told you, App State, they're going to be able to control the tempo at least for half the possessions, because the times they get the ball in their hands, they can control the tempo. That's how it works on offense. And that's what they try to do, especially in the first half. So the start of this game, as frustrating as it was, and as at times we're kind of teetering on, is Ohio State going to lose this game, or is App State going to be in this like fully? And you had those moments, you kind of move on from there. Once you settle in, once you get some subs in and out, Colin White gets his first start. You don't have Devin Royal. Just some weirdness going on in this game with an already tough matchup to hit the ground running in. So I don't think that was much of a problem. I know a lot of fans probably not happy about it. For me personally, it's not something I worry about. I'm not trying to be too optimistic. I'm just saying I don't see it as that much of an issue for me personally. And that said, yet again, it's time to relax, right? Like, this is game 3. We need to calm it down. All right. Like, look, warm up some tea, grab yourself a blankie, put on a hoodie, and let's all just settle in and say, you know what? It is November 12th. It is November 12th. We have to get to December 12th. And then we need to get to January 12th, and we still don't know what Ohio State is in Big Ten play at that point. And then February 12th, where we're wondering, is this an NCAA tournament team or not? We still don't know. And then March 12th, we're like at the end of the Big Ten tournament. We have 4 full months, not of basketball, but of like literal days, 120 days before we can really, really know what this Ohio State team is, I think. It's November 11th, folks. Like, I get the frustration. I get it. Even in the Substack in our chat, hit me up, shoot me a DM on Twitter. I will get you in there, get you a free week for sure. I utilize that chat not only to kind of give some more insider info, but also to give fans an outlet to talk about Ohio State basketball without the fringe fans, as some would call them, to kind of bog people down. But even in that chat, people getting frustrated, and I completely understand it. It's game 3. You're not supposed to be who you want to be on March 11th on November 11th. Brandon Noel, we have to talk about, right? Like, Brandon Noel came in and he absolutely produced. I've been waiting for him. I said in the game 1 against IU Indy and the game 2 preview show against Purdue Fort Wayne, Brandon Noel could eat up in these games, and he didn't. It took to game 3 to where fans really got to see who Brandon Noel is. He now has games with 10, 4, and 11 rebounds, so the rebounding production is absolutely there. What is going on behind me? I hope you can't hear that. If you're on podcast, don't worry about it. But Noel is showing the rebounding production for one, and then the point scoring production in this game as well. 17 points in this game, 8 of 10 from the field. Never gets to the free throw line, so he gets all the scoring from the field. He only has 1 foul. He has 1 assist, 4 offensive rebounds. That also leads the team for Ohio State. Brandon Noel was really, really good in this game. He's so smooth. The one thing I loved about him and loved about the fit ever since it was announced that he would be coming to Ohio State was this guy is so good in that dunker spot on the block in the short corner off the ball. He's so good at finding a way to get open, flashing to the exact spot he needs to get to, hands ready to catch the ball and go finish with a layup and sometimes finish with a dunk. He's been so good for Ohio State in just these 3 games. And even though he hasn't had the chance to do it all that much, in this game, you got to see more from him. So happy for Brandon Noel to pick up a big-time performance for Ohio State in this game. Another thought I have in this one, another takeaway. You can afford now for guys to have an off night. I've talked about this so much last season, coming into this season. I've already said it this season. You remember the core 4 Ohio State had last year. They needed a score, and if they didn't, Ohio State was going to lose. Well, guess what? Ohio State in this game got 13 points out of Bruce Thornton. Big Ten Player of the Week. He's named to some like National Player of the Week list as well. 13 points, 3 of 7 from the field. Not great production. Christoph Tilley, 2 of 9 from the field and 0 of 6 from the 3-point line. This is your player who led your team in scoring to open up the season on Monday night a week ago, or a week and a half ago at this point, I guess. 2 of 9 from the field, 0 of 6 from the 3-point line. John Mobley Jr. has yet to put together a complete night shooting the basketball. And yet it didn't matter. Is 75 points a lot? No, not really. But you still won this game, shooting the ball really well, especially in the second half. You finish this game, at least in the second half, you shoot 54% from the field, 46% from the 3-point line. You make 5 3-pointers in the second half. I mean, again, the questions we had about last year's team and the roster construction coming into this year, those questions are getting answered. You can still win games when your best players are not all the way on. Amari Bynum, a player we need to talk about. This is a player, again, I already mentioned this on this show, but I said coming into this game, hey, I think he left some meat on the bone in the game against Purdue Fort Wayne. In this game, he gives Ohio State a spark in the first half. He finishes with 8 points in this game, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 3 of 8 from the field, couple of rebounds as well. He was a nice presence for Ohio State in this game as well. So you're getting that production off the bench. They absolutely did not get last year. You didn't get it from Quest Glover. You never got it from Aaron Bradshaw outside of that game against Kentucky and the other game against Washington. I think those were his only 2 big games last year. You didn't get it from Colin White offensively. Colin White didn't score a point in this game. He still produced defensively, and the coaching staff clearly really, really likes him. I'll talk about that in a second as well. But again, this is a game where it wasn't all there for you offensively, and yet they still got it done with ease. That's great. Another takeaway. When the Buckeyes control the pace, they're nearly unbeatable. The interesting thing here, and I wanted to look smart, but I can't. In the second half, they had less field goal attempts than they did in the first half. I was hoping they had like 7 more field goal attempts in the second half than the first half, and then I was going to look really good. I guess you kind of chop it up and you look at the final 5-ish minutes or final 3 minutes of the first half to the 10-minute mark in the second half, and maybe that's where I look smart, but I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. But Ohio State controlled the pace, especially opening up the second half. They moved the ball. There was great ball movement, great rotations. They pushed the tempo, and when they control the pace, they're a really, really hard team to stop. They're a really, really hard team to guard. Last thought I have in this game. So Colin White gets a start. That wasn't necessarily a surprise. I thought there was a chance that with Devin Royal out, maybe you go with the 3-guard starting lineup with Cupps, Mobley, and Thornton. Your other option was probably Colin White over Matthew Grujic. That's what we've seen in terms of minute distribution so far. Is Colin White is ahead of Matthew Grujic and well ahead of Matthew Grujic. I mean, he did not make an appearance until the very end of the game on Friday against Purdue Fort Wayne. Grew further behind than I guess I initially thought he was. During the preseason, at the time, Colin White still working his way back from injury. Grew was seen as ahead of Colin White. Now that Colin White appears to be fully healthy, he's not even listed on the injury report in the past 2 games. Seems Colin White is your very, very clear number 2 at small forward behind Devin Royal. Grew doesn't get in until the 9:24 mark in the second half. He plays 5 minutes total, 0 of 1 from the field, missed all three of his free throw attempts, no turnovers, but no assists. Like nothing really notable from Grew, I guess, in this game necessarily, but Colin White clearly ahead of Grew, which makes me sad because I root for Grew because he came on the show in the offseason, but I root for Colin White as well because he came on the show in the offseason. So you root for both, and that's great. You actually root for everyone on this team, I guess, is how you should say it. So that's what we saw in a game that was not necessarily perfect or beautiful or anything like that for Ohio State. Overall, you saw a team that battled through a little bit of adversity, battled through a difficult defensive task, and they were still able to come up on top and win this game by 20 plus points. Now, Ohio State is 3-0. They're 3-0 for the first time since 2022. I think someone check my Substack and let me know what I said there. I don't remember which. I think it's 2022 is the first time they started 3-0 since 2022. Last year, of course, they start with a win over Texas, but then they lose to Texas A&M in game 3. The year before that, they lost to Texas A&M in game 2. So does that take us back to 2022? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Buckeyes are 3-0. That's a good spot. These were all games Ohio State was expected to win without any kinds of concerns. Now, here we go. It's time for your first test, and that comes when you play Notre Dame coming up here on Sunday at noon in the Schott, a home game for the Buckeyes. We will be back on Friday to preview Ohio State's matchup with Notre Dame. Make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcast. You're going to want to be here. You're going to want to be here for that episode and for the recap episode as well. So excited for that one. Buckeyes again, 3-0. It's a good start. Plenty to work on. They're not perfect, but it's November 12th, so you don't really expect them to be perfect at this point. Alrighty, you should know I appreciate you a bunch. If you've made it through to this part of the show, seriously, I do appreciate you a bunch for allowing me to do this and talk Ohio State hoops with you and kind of build out this platform. Excited to continue to do it as the season rolls along. For now, time for me to stop. All right? That's just it. It's time for me to stop. Again, I appreciate you listening or watching this show more than you could ever understand. Rejoice, Ohio State is 3-0 on this young season. I shut up before you shut me off. Go Bucks.